Today we are going to discuss in continuation of our lecture. So we will discuss about what are the 10 meritorious deeds. They are called as thus kusala karma or kusala dharma. What are the 10 meritorious deeds which were very much helpful in propagation of the teachings of the Buddha, and how it became a part of our Buddhist culture. So we'll discuss about what are the meritorious days. We have also discussed that Buddha has also given much importance to the evolution of an action. And Buddha says that Chaitana ham bhikkhave kammam badami, Chetitva kai kammam pachi kammam mano kammam. And Buddha says that all manifestations of actions are being done by our volition. And through this volition, all the actions related with the physical, vocal, and mental actions are being performed. A person who does moral actions, he gets the resultant of the moral actions, kusala vipak. And if a person who does immoral actions, it is seen that he also gets a resultant of immoral actions, that is the akusala vipak. It is never seen that a person who does moral action, he does not get the resultant of moral actions. Anyone who does the moral actions or immoral actions, he has to get the resultant of moral and immoral actions in this very life or in the life coming, you can say, years. So this is the law, you can say. But in the later text, like Paramatha Depini, or you can say Anudipini, which have been composed by Acharya Lady Sayadaw of Myanmar. And he has also discussed that if a person who has done immoral actions or moral actions, sometimes it is the effort of an action at the time of the death of that person. What does he remembers or recollects the merits of his moral and immoral actions? The death, at the time of the death, the chuti chit, the death consciousness is being guided in you can say in getting the resultant of the moral and immoral actions. In Paramatha Dipani, Acharya Lady Sayadaw has given an example that Ashoka, before becoming a Buddhist, he had killed so many persons in the battlefield also, and he had killed so many brothers for getting his royal crown. So it is another thing. But when he became Buddhist, and when he had killed so many persons, he had achieved the resultant of immoral actions also. But after becoming Buddhist, he had made 84,000 stupas or monasteries, and he has done a lot of works for the welfare of the beings and for propagation of the Buddhism. So at the time of the death, King Ashoka recollects the merits of making the 84,000 of monasteries at the time of, you can say, death. And in that way, he collects or he achieves the resultant of the moral actions at the time of the death, and he goes to the Swarga, a state of eternal bliss, Nibbana, and he goes to the Suddhavasa. Paramatha Dipani also discusses about the king Duttagamani of King who was the king of Sri Lanka, who was the contemporary of King Asok also, 3rd century BC. And he had also killed so many persons in his country. But when he became very much close associate of King Asoka, and then he also became followers of one of the followers of Buddhism, and he introduced Buddhism in his own country, and he also made so many stupas, monasteries in his own country. And at the time of the death, he also recollected the merits of his good actions, what he has done in his last days. And in that way, he also achieves a state of eternal bliss. So, we in the Buddhist text, we see that how the changes of the resultant of immoral actions is being changed into the resultant of the moral actions. In the case of Asoka and Duttagamani, the kings of India and Sri Lanka respectively. So we'll discuss that what are the 10 meritorious deeds which are helpful for getting a state of eternal bliss, and what are thus kusala dharma. When we are discussing about the social dimensions of Buddhism, we had also discussed that what are the 10 royal duties for a royal king. But today, for the common people, for the general people, what are the 10 meritorious deeds? What are the 10 kusal dharmas through which our Buddhism became much influential in Southeast Asian countries? So there are 10 types of meritorious deeds: dhan, sila, bhavana. We'll discuss the Bhakti Dhan one by one. But the first is the Dhan, you can say. What is the Dhan? We'll discuss in a very brief manner. The definitions, how it has been defined. So Dhan has been defined as that Dhan is an expression of generosity, that is the sacrifice, that it is an absence of greediness, that when there is a consciousness which arises to give something to someone out for the sake of welfare of the human beings, Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai, and this is called as a dhan. So there are so many types which have been discussed in our text also, and giving dhan, there are many three. And if you go through the Jatakas, we are also having Parmitaj. Parmitas are Param Gatamiti Paramita. Parmitas are those human values which take a wing from the state of suffering to the state of eternal bliss. They are also 6 in number, generally 6, but in Jatakas we are having 10. The 6 are then generally Dan Parmita, Dan Parmita, Sil Parmita, Shanti Parmita, Virya Parmita, Dhyan Parmita, and Pragya Parmita. These are the 6 main perfections, namely, through which a bodhisattva tries to act for the Dan, Sil, Shanti, Vriya, Dhyan, and Pragya. He selects any one of the, you can say, 6 parmitas and follows it. And in Jatakas, we see that how a bodhisattva performs any one of the 6 parmitas, and he tries to get the resultant of those moral, those karma, or those meritorious deeds or wholesome actions. There are 10 parmitas which have been discussed in our Jatakas. Besides this, Dan Parmita, Sil Parmita, Shanti Parmita, Viri Parmita, Dhyan Parmita, Pragya Parmita, there are also 4 such: Adithan, Metta, and there is another one. So there are 10 types of perfections through which a person's a bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is a person who is on the path of getting enlightenment. He has not got the enlightenment, but he is in the path on the path of for getting a state of eternal bliss. And through these 10 perfections, he tries to get the state of eternal bliss. So there also we are having Dana Parvita, Sil Parvita, Shanti Parvita. But here, for a common people, there are 10 meritorious deeds. Dan is also one of the most important factor for getting a state of eternal bliss. So Dan, Sil, or Bhavana. There are three things which have been given much importance in our Theravada Buddhism. So Dan, we have discussed that Dan is an expression of giving generosity or charity. Through the charity, a person can get a state of eternal bliss. And seal, we have also discussed in our earlier class, seal is curtailment of the physical and vocal misdeeds. There are three types of physical misdeeds like panatipata, adinnadana, kamesumishachara, and refraining from killing a living being, refraining from stealing, and refraining from indulging sexual misdeeds. These are called as panatipata, bermani, adinnadana, bermani, kamesu, vikshachara. And these are called as kaikam and vachasik, that is the Musavada Bervani, Pisuna Vacha Bervani, Farusa Vacha Bervani, and Samfalapa Bervani. These four are called as Vachikam. So refraining from these three types of physical and four types of vocal misdeeds is called as seal. Acharya Buddha Ghosh defines seal in a very decent manner, and he says that what is seal? He says that Kimidam Silam. There is a question. Silanam ti Silam. Kimidam Silanam. What is Silana? Silan is composing. What is composing? That it is Samadhan and Upadharana. Samadhan is coordination. Upadharan is holding the things. What is coordination? Samadhan. Kaik kam adinam susilya vasena abhikappinitati atto. That it is in the sense of inconsistency related with the good conduct from the beginning with the physical and vocal actions. Kai kamma bachi kamma adi vasena susalya vasena avikappinitati atto. That is called as coordination of the physical and vocal actions by the way of good conduct. What is upadharanam? Upadharan is holding, holding in the direction of purification. What is the holding? That is the kusalanam dhammanam patithan vasena adharavavoti atho. That upadharan is in the sense of hold, establishment of the moral dhammas. That is kuslanam dhammanam patithan vasena adhara bhavo. That it is in the sense of base of establishment of the moral dhammas. In that sense, it is called as seal. And bhavana, it is the practice. There are three terms, dana, seal, and bhavana. And bhavana is also two types of bhavana. That is the samatha bhavana and vipassana bhavana. What is samatha? Samatha is the coming down. What is coming down? That curtailment of the or destroying the five types of nivarnas, hindrances, namely kamachanda, vyapad, thinimid, udach, kukuch, and vichkicha. So this is called as samatha, that curtailment or destroying the five types of hindrances and having the five types of jhanangas, Patham Jhana, Dutiya Jhana, Tatiya Jhana, Chaturtha Jhana, and Pancham Jhana. Five factors of concentrations as well as four factors of Arupajhan. This is called as Samatha Bhavana. Then again, there is a Vipassana Bhavana. What is Vipassana? विशेष प्रकारेण पश्यति इति विपස්සना केन अर्थेन विपස්සना that anicca adi विशेष प्रकारेण पश्यति इति vipassana the practice related with the that all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to soulless. This is called as anicca, dukha, anat, adi vasena, visesa pakarena, passati. Visualizing the things as they really appear. And all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to soulless. This is called as vipassana bhavana. So this is the bhavana is of two types. So dan, there are three types of dan also. What are the three types of dan? If you go through that, if someone goes to the needy persons and he gives some of the clothes and the meals and for the needy persons, those who are really in need, this is called as first dan. And helping the poor, giving this is you can say giving the needy persons. And second is giving to equals. Equals is that our friends and the relatives, those who are equal, and giving something for them in when they are in need of those things, and even for the friendship also, giving something to some to friends. This is called as giving dan to equals, and thus the third type of dan is giving to people to whom we want to show our gratitude. Gratitude that out of the respect to our teachers or the senior citizens or other, you can say, community persons. If you give something in respect of those persons or venerable monks or those who are residing in the monasteries, if you are giving something, this is called as you can say third type of dan. So this is out of the gratitude. So this type of dan is called as dan. And again, dan has been said in a different manner. If you go through the text, then if you see that dan is a term which is widely used as a volition, that is the chetana dan. And that is why there are two types of dan, that is the chetana dan and a vattu dan. Chetana dan, that out of volition, out, whenever your consciousness arises to give something to someone for the welfare of the Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai, this is called as Chetana Dan. And Vattu Dan is that type of gift when you give some clothes or meals or something to someone, this is called as Vattu Dan. And you giving robes to the monks in the monasteries, they are also called as Vattu Dan. So there are two types of dan. So this mental attitude which we are arising. So this is the two types of dan generally in our Pali text. We are having that how the Chetana dan and Vattu dan, they have been discussed. So again, this Chetana dan is also said that how Chetana sometimes is relatively less, or how sometimes the Chetana becomes very, you can say, with a great effort. So the resultant of those meritorious deeds are in the same manner. They are low also and they are more strong. If there is a great effort for giving something to someone with the great volition, then you will having the resultant of those moral meritorious deeds in that manner also. So in that way, this is the type dan. So in general, dan is that which is, you can say, this is. So we are going to discuss, if you go through the reading material, then you will find that how the meritorious deeds have been discussed. They are called as thus puñña kriya, or in Sanskrit it is called as puñña, or is in Pali it is called as puñña. Puñña kriya, or thus means 10. So how this the teachings of the Buddha gives more emphasis on the performing the meritorious deeds. We'll discuss in a very brief manner. Then we'll discuss that what are the 10 types of meritorious deeds, out of which one is called as Dhamma. So we'll discuss again Dhamma. So these are the main how a person who does the moral actions, he gets the resultant of the moral actions. And if a person who does immoral actions, he gets the resultant of immoral actions. In that way, a person, and even if in this life he does not get the resultant of the moral or immoral actions, in the coming life he has to get the resultant of those moral actions. So this punya or punya is a great facilitator, and it opens the door of opportunity everywhere. So whenever a person who does meritorious deeds, that person will succeed in whatever venture he puts his efforts to. So that is the quality of a meritorious person. So merit is very much important to help us along our journey throughout the life from taking birth till the death, and it is connected with what are the good beneficial to one and self others, and how one can improve the quality of the mind. So even in Bodhicharya avatar, if you go through that, how in Bodhicharya avatar, the Acharya this has also discussed the Dan Paramita, and how for arising of the Bodhicitta, that is the arising of the consciousness, for getting a state of eternal bliss, Bodhicittupad. So here a person has to perform dan meritorious deeds. So dan is also there in Mahayana text, and it purifies our consciousness or the mind. If you do meritorious deeds, then kusala dharma. That is why they are very much important in our Buddhism. And if a person who does these 10 types of meritorious deeds, his name and fame are spreaded all over the globe, and without any distinction between the any caste, color, or creed. So this is the quality of the meritorious deed. So a person will experience happiness here if a person who does the moral actions, and if a person does not do the moral actions, or he does the moral actions, he will get the resultant of those actions through the performance of his demerit. So a meritorious person will succeed whatever he has his ambition, and in his effort also. If he wishes to do business, he will meet with the right contacts and the friends also. If he wishes to be a scholar, he will be awarded with a scholarship and supported by academic mentors. So if you go through the details that what are the qualities of giving the merits, these have been discussed in here. So Buddha has taught the 10 types of meritorious deeds, thus kusala dharma, and this we have to discuss. And what are these? The first is the charity or the giving or the dhan. So we have just discussed that what is the dhan. Dhan is nothing but it is an expression of generosity or sacrifice, giving something to someone for the sake of welfare of all human beings. So Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. In that way, this is the, you can say. And what is the dan? If you go through your reading material, it has been said that it is the act of relinquishing oneself and one's belongings. So if you go through the Jataka's stories, if you see that how a bodhisattva in the form of rabbit or peacock or in whatever the forms he has taken, so he has a tendency to give something and performing the meritorious dana paramita, that is the perfection related with the charity. So this is the here dan, that if dan if gives belongings, and what is and it dispels greed for things. So what is the greed? Lobha. Lobha is that par sampatti mama bhavaya, or par bhandanam mama bhavaya, let the belongings or the wealth of others be mine. This is called, as you can say, um, uh, lobha. But just opposite of this lobha, that is the non-greediness. So non-greediness has been defined as alobhuti chago. Chago means tyaga, sacrifice. Whenever there is a rising of consciousness to sacrifice his own life for the sake of well-being of others, this is called as dan, you can say. And in the Jatakas, you will find that how a bodhisattva has sacrificed his own life for the sake of others. So we have seen in how in Sumsumar Jatak, in Banarind Jatak, Sumedh Jatak, and so we see that how this, and again miserliness, that is the matsarya. Miserliness that you do not, you have the belongings or you have the wealth, but you do not want to share with your friends, relatives, your sons, daughters, and wife. And this is called as miserliness, matsarya. In Pali, it is called as Issa and Machariya. Machariya. Issa is the jealousy. Jealousy is nothing but saying the welfare of others. Whenever there is a rising of consciousness of hatred to harm others, this is jealousy. But Machariya is having the belongings to yourself, but you do not want to share with anyone. This is called as miserliness. So this is the hindrance to give dan. So dan, until unless you do not leave this miserliness, you cannot give something to someone. So this is the careless and ignorance of working of the kamma and survival after the death are equally valid causes. So carelessness, that is the not having the awareness related with your physical and vocal actions, and ignorance of working of the kamma, and you do not know that what is the volition and what is the kamma and how there is the resultant of the moral and immoral actions. Then after the death, you will face the consequences. This is the evil consequences or merit consequences. So if one who knows the moral advantage of the giving, one will be very much apramadi, that is the diligent to give something to someone, and then he gives the charity to. So again, there are so many dan we will discuss. that there are the Amish Dan and there is a Dhamma Dan, Patti Dan. So there are so many types of Dan. So in the next class, we'll discuss about the merits, that what are the charity and how the charities are being discussed, and what are the kinds of the charity. We'll discuss that how Amish Dan, Dhamma Dan, Jin Dan. So we'll discuss in our next class.